everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point. And I am here with a short video. I was up last night and Pastor Jamal Bryant came on to Periscope to do one of his insomniac circles. And so when he was in Baltimore at Empowerment Temple, he would do these late night videos where he talk about different topics. And so I was happy to see him on there because, I follow Jamal Bryant, love, the fact that he's in Atlanta at New Birth and, just watching the great things that he's doing there. So I think it was this past Sunday or the Sunday before, he started talking about human trafficking and how he wants to start a ministry where he is, helping people get out of human trafficking. And so one thing people tend to confuse is human trafficking and sex trafficking. Human trafficking, for the most part, okay, is twofold, but for the most part, it is basically prostitution as we've always known it. For some reason, they've decided to give it this fancy name, but human trafficking in its purest form is nothing but good old-fashioned prostitution. Now, there are elements of human trafficking that deals with bringing people, most likely when you have people that come across the border from, like Mexico, and then they come into the United States, the West Indies, Haiti. When these people come from these small islands into the United States, they oftentimes get manipulated, by wealthy people into working for pennies on the dollar. So when you see farm workers, migrant workers, a lot of times those people are being human trafficked because these people know that they're in the country illegally and they'll do anything, not to be sent back to their home countries. And I don't know if you can find it, but ABC used to have a show called American Crime. I think it was called American Crime. And it starred Felicity Huffman and Regina King, but there were like 7 or 8 central figures on this show. And each season they would cover a different topic. And so the show was canceled about a year ago, but in their final season, they actually covered human trafficking and sex trafficking. And they basically showed you the difference between the two. So when it comes to sex trafficking, that's where people are being kidnapped and they're forced into the sex trade. It happens a lot with runaways, minor children that are runaways. These people give them a place to live. They take them to get their hair done and that type of stuff, but they're not free to leave at any time. And they, are threatened with being killed. People are sex trafficked when they're taken from one country to another country. Like people might bring people into the United States to sell them, to people, that type of thing. So if you get a chance, research American Crime and look for their final season and you'll get a better understanding. But we have people like Jamal Bryant, who is basically, I'm not going to say he hasn't done his research, but he probably needs to do a little more research. And so he's talking about, going to, I think he wanted to do something around the Super Bowl and they tried to get into some of the hotels and they found out that the hotels were already booked up. They were talking about people, going to the strip clubs and type of things around the Super Bowl. But they found out that if you're not a patron, so if they want to go into the parking lot of the strip club, they could be arrested, for picketing or protesting because the only people allowed on the premises are people who are patrons of the strip club. So you have to be going into the strip club to enjoy, what's going on. So back to his Insomniac Circle last night. So I'm laying in the bed listening to the show. When all of a sudden he says that he has met with the Savages and the Clarys, and that he wants to help these people bring light to their story. And I'm like, oh Lord, Jamal, please, please, please don't get caught up with these demonic people. And so I was just like really shocked. Like, okay, come on, Jamal, you got to be smarter than that. Like why? And this is the part about the whole R. Kelly situation, is that people don't do their due diligence. They don't do their research. They don't look at both sides of the story. And so I think when I do my coverage, I try to look at both sides of the story, and then figure out which angle I want to take with the story. And I think that more people need to do that. And I don't know. I could just see Jamal getting called up, bringing these people in. He's supposed to be doing something next week, I believe. He does this men's ministry where it's called the Locker Room, and it's like a men's Bible study. And so he bring the men in, and they basically talk about certain issues. And so the next Locker Room at New Birth is going to be about human trafficking and protecting our daughters. And just that angle in the flyer lets me know that he has confused the two topics. So I just want to let you guys listen to this little clip where he says that, he's talked to both parents, and, he wants to do more on this R. Kelly situation.
Beginning in February. You all have been asking me for years, and it's finally here. Beginning in February, I will have my own podcast. I have my own podcast that will be coming on weekly. I'm appreciative that I now have partners who is going to push our podcast. And so let me publicly thank Ebony and Jet Magazine, who have brought me in to be their first faith based podcast for Ebony Jet Magazine. It starts the first week of February. We're still toying with names. I'll be announcing the new name of my podcast. I want all of you to subscribe to be able to get it. It is not just going to be sermons, but really dialogue and conversations such as we're having on tonight, as number one. Number two, you all might want to grab a pen because I'm going to be giving you chock full of information tonight. Number two, I just recently discovered that Atlanta, where I presently live, Atlanta is now the number one headquarters for human trafficking in America. Atlanta is now number one in human trafficking in Atlanta. And I want to say a couple of things that's really going to make you stand up, scratch your head, and consider. Do you know the number one day for human trafficking in America? The number one day for human trafficking in America, hear this, is Super Bowl Sunday. More human bodies of girls, women, minors are trafficked and sold on Super Bowl Sunday than any other day of the year. Nationwide, Super Bowl Sunday. And it makes sense. Let me tell you why. Because it is that night that married men have access to leave home without question. Married men are leaving home without question, saying they're going to some Super Bowl party, and in fact become embroiled in human trafficking. I really felt bent towards getting involved just over the last couple of weeks, if not a month. that I need to do something because I had an opportunity to meet with the fathers of those whose daughters were being held captive by R. Kelly in Atlanta. Both God fearing men. What they don't talk about is that the girls that were held up in R. Kelly's home were not from broken homes. Both of the young ladies come from solid family networks of a husband and wife in the home. The control was so demonic, so diabolical, that R. Kelly would only let the girls talk to their mothers, but never would let them talk to their fathers because he wanted to be the prominent, dominant male voice in their life. Furthermore, he insisted that the girls call him R. Kelly daddy as a replacement of their fathers. And I can do a whole nother program on this. So I start working, toiling on what it is that we can do because it is so far out there. Do you not know that as of 2017, I'm getting ready to make y'all the smartest people at work tomorrow, write this down. As of 2017, human trafficking now garners more profit than the entire drug industry.
And what I really want him to do is do more research and, get both sides of the story, find out what the Clarys and the Savages involvement in all of this has been, how they were behind everything. I think he needs to go and talk to Jonjelyn if he wants to get a clear picture. Don't be an advocate for her when you haven't even spoken to her. And then we know Azriel is just out in left field somewhere. So I don't know if she would be a good person to talk to because she's just going to go along with her daddy. But anyway, just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on, Jamal Bryant bringing new birth into this situation. And then also he did a interview on a podcast a few weeks ago, and I left a comment on that podcast and I asked, where is the clergy community when it comes to, the R. Kellys of the world? Like, why hasn't anyone reached out to R. Kelly? Like, where everybody wants to reach out to the women who are saying that they were victims. But, Jesus didn't discriminate. Jesus wanted everybody to be healed. Okay. So where is the clergy when it comes to going and talking to R. Kelly, praying with R. Kelly, getting his story, hearing what he has to say, ministering to him? And I checked back for like 2 weeks and, Jamal didn't comment. And the person who was doing the podcast didn't respond to the comment either. And so I just think that, it's one thing for people to be biased, for the fans to be biased, for the supporters of of either side to be biased. But, when you're in a position of power and you're in a position to lead people, in the role of a clergy person, you cannot afford to be biased, because God so loved the world. Okay. He didn't just love this side or that side. So guys, let me know what you think about this situation. Should Jamal be involved? Does Jamal need some more backstory on the Clarys and the Savages? Let me know. Leave your comments below, rate the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.